All right, today we are going to continue solving equations. Today we're going to add multiplying and dividing to our repertoire. There we go. So, solving an equation that contains multiplication or division is exactly like our addition and subtraction. When we use the inverse operation, it'll undo that operation on one side so that we can isolate that variable. Remember, we've already simplified because that was the first thing. SID, so we simplified. Now we're working on that isolation piece. So we want to isolate by doing the inverse operation. And this time we're going to be doing multiplication and division. Inverse of multiplication is division, and the inverse of division is multiplication. All right, so let's try one. Let's jump right in here and see how this works. Okay, so I've got -8 equals j divided by 3. Well, divided by means that I need to undo that division by multiplying. So remember, if I do it on one side to get rid of that 3, I have to do it to the other side. So I multiplied by 3 on both sides. Multiply by 3, got rid of that division, and then I get -24 equals j, because these 3's are going to cross out. We're going to come back and we're going to check. And yes, as simple a question as this one is, or an equation as this one is, we really should check to make sure we've gotten it correct. So, is -8 equal to, why aren't we getting there? Oops. All right, is -8 equal to -24 divided by 3? Yes, it is. Okay. Here we go. N divided by 6 equals 2.8. So again, we've got division going on here with our variable, so we need to undo the division by multiplying. So we'll multiply by 6 on both sides of the equation. There's my 6, multiplying both sides. All right. Because remember, we've got that balance scale, and if we do something over here, we've got to do it over here as well to keep it balanced. So, once we do our multiplication, we find that n equals 16.8. Well, of course, what are we going to do? We're going to go back and check. We're going to say, whoops, is 16.8 divided by 6 equal to 2.8? Well, at this point, I'm okay with you guys using a calculator, but in fact, yes, it does. So we're good to move on. Come on. There we go. All right, so now I'm going to give you a second to work on this one. So pause the video, see what you got, and come on back. Okay, so let's check to make sure that we are multiplying by 3 on both sides. 3 times -13 equals y over 3 times 3. These are going to cross off, so I've got y left over here. And 3 times -13 is -39. I'm going to go back and check that. So -13, does that equal -39 divided by 3? Indeed it does, so I'm good. Okay, this one is just a little bit different. Now we've got multiplication. We're multiplying that variable by the number 9. So we need to undo the multiplication by dividing. So we're going to divide each side by 9 and divide the other side by 9 to keep it in balance. So these 9's are going to cancel each other out because that's going to be equal to 1. 1 times y is still y. And y is going to equal 108 divided by 9, or 12. I'm going to pop that back in just to check my answer, and I get 9 times 12 equals 108, and indeed that's correct. Okay, so 16 equals 4 times c. Doesn't matter that it's on the other side of the equals sign. We do it the exact same way. So pause the slide for a sec and come on back. Okay, so we're dividing by 4 both sides. So 4 equals c. And we're going to check 16 equals 4 times 4. Indeed it does. Alrighty. So this is starting to look a little less pretty, but that's okay. Still divide by 0.5 on both sides. Okay, so dividing by 0.5, I've got y left over. And on this side, I'm going to have negative 20. Okay, so 0.5 times negative 20 is indeed negative 10. Okay, so we're going to talk about when we're dividing. Sometimes that gets a little ugly. So I'm going to ask that you take a look at it over here. Remember that dividing is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. And we like multiplying a whole lot better than we do dividing. So let's try this. So when solving equations, let's try multiplying by the reciprocal instead of dividing. Believe me, it looks much easier. Okay, so let's try this out. So this 5/6, if we were dividing by 5/6, that would get ugly. So instead, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal of 5/6. The reciprocal of 5/6, of course, is 6/5. Okay, did it on one side, need to do it on the other side. So indeed, when you see that multiplication, that's 30/30 or 1. So now I'm just left with a W over here. And this one is going to be negative 120/5, which will simplify to negative 24. Okay, so let's go back and check that. 5/6 times negative 24 equals negative 20. Well, I'm going to do my math, and indeed it does. Okay? All right, you got another one. This says 1/5 b equals negative 1/4. Sorry, that's so small. But here's another time where you're going to really want to use the reciprocal rather than dividing 1/4 by 1/5. So pause the slide for a second and see if you got this thing down. Okay, so the reciprocal of 1/5 is 5. I'm going to multiply by 5 both sides. And I get 5 times 1/5 or 1. So 1b or just b equals negative 5/4. And I am totally okay with you leaving it as an improper fraction. If you want to change it to negative 1 1/4, that's fine too. But at this point, I'm fine with an improper fraction as long as it is simplified. But let's go back and check. Let's not forget that step. 1/5 times negative 5/4. And we're going to check, does that equal negative 1/4? Well, this is negative 5/20. Negative 5/20 is, in fact, negative 1/4. There we go. Okay, so Jordan puts a quarter of the money he earns from mowing lawns into a college education fund. This year, Jordan added $285 to his college education fund. We're going to write and solve an equation to find out how much money Jordan earned mowing lawns this year. Okay, so we know that Jordan earns some amount of money. Okay, we don't know what that is, so we're going to make a variable for that. I'm going to call it M for money. Okay, so 1/4 of that amount, 1/4 of the money, is going to be the amount he added to his college fund, which was $285. So we know that that amount of money, has to be a whole lot greater than $285 because this is just 1/4 of how much he earned. So let's make sure our answer ends up being bigger. We need to get rid of this 1/4. So instead of dividing, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. Let's see if we can change our pen color. I don't know that worked. So now we're going to multiply by 4, both sides, and we find that M equals 285 times 4, or $1,140. So let's go back really quickly and check. 1/4 times 1,140 divided by 4, that equals 285. Indeed, it worked. Okay, so I've got some practice problems for you. Write these down, pause the video, and then come on back and check your answers. Okay, so in this first one, m equals 21. Here, x equals 2.8. Y equals 1/2. N equals -14. And m equals 40. All right, if any of those did not work for you, please bring those in as questions tomorrow, or you're welcome to email me this evening and ask me if any of those didn't go well for you. And we'll be practicing these a lot more in class tomorrow. All right, thanks a lot, guys.